Hello, my name's Lara, and I teach the research element of the NCA's Chinese Herbal Medicine MSc and PGDip. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit now about the content and scope of that part of the course. So I will just share my screen, show you some slides. So yes, the first thing to say is that there is an important research element in both of these pathways through studying Chinese herbal medicine with the NCA. That might seem more obvious in the MSc course where there is an output at the end, which is your own piece of research, but it's still very much there in the PGDip. So that's the first thing to say. The first 2 years of these two courses are identical content wise, and there's an important research element in that. So let's have a bit of a look at what that consists of. Okay, so in the first year of either of those courses, the MSc or the PGDip, we're really looking in research classes at getting some key skills going in approaching the evidence base for Chinese herbal medicine and doing that in a way that is critical, by which we mean asking lots of questions, taking apart the evidence and the information that we find online and in journals in terms of quality so that we can differentiate between evidence that's trustworthy, high quality, up to date, all of these things that are quality indicators. We're aware of them and able to operate with those as we select what material to consider as evidence, really. So there's that element of critical appraisal is important. And we're also really looking in the first year at what that key skill set is for someone who is reading research to support clinical practice in Chinese herbal medicine, as opposed to what they have done already to support their practice as an acupuncturist. So we'll do a little bit of meeting where you're at in terms of how you approach research, how you use it, and what your habits are there, and look at kind of upgrading that to take it towards your new studies into Chinese herbal medicine. So we're really privileged in a way to be on a small scale here so that we are really able to meet each student where they are in terms of their previous knowledge of research. And a lot of that will depend on where you trained, when you trained, and what you've done since you trained in terms of use of research in your clinical practice. But we are really able to find out where each individual is with that, and work out what they need to add to that picture to bring it to their master's level study. And we'll be looking at the sort of methodological distinctiveness of studying Chinese herbal medicine through a research lens, again, as opposed to and as well as acupuncture, and what it means in terms of what options and models we have for research methodologies when we're looking at a medicine which is primarily internal. And that's really interesting. We can start to get really into what's extra here, what does that add to the picture. And then in the second year of the course, we move and build on that with a focus on specific diseases and conditions. And that's to sit alongside the other content of the course, which is starting to look at those and, things that people find fascinating that they've come upon in their clinical practice can start to sort of form the territory for what they're studying. And we're really looking then at, if you're fascinated by something, if you want to know more, if you're thinking, I want to be able to help this particular individual, or I struggle with this condition, or I want to understand this, the first step there is to put that curiosity, that fascination, which has to be there, into a searchable research question so that you can then take that question to the evidence base. And we'll be looking at all sorts of strategies for doing that in a way that generates results that you can then begin to work with. So we'll be doing a lot of that kind of process of working through from I wonder what, I wonder if, I want to know, all the way through to here's the information that will give me the answer to that, so I can start to approach that critically and proportionately, because there's a lot of rabbit holes that it's possible to fall down. So we're really thinking about navigating this evidence base in a way that's kind of efficient and supportive of clinical practice. And there's a series of ancillary skills that we will look at to support that, including this idea of data extraction, where you can go into a set of papers that you've selected and just pull out what you need to answer your question, so that we're not reading, 10 tons of everything. All our reading is really efficient, really streamlined towards the question we're asking. So one of the big things that we focus on is getting that process of bringing evidence into clinical practice, getting that efficient and quick, because it has to be pretty nimble if you're going to actually do that around care of real patients, which is what takes up the majority of a clinician's time. So we're really looking at research and these research techniques, these kind of streamlined, efficient techniques, as underpinning clinical practice, as part of the toolkit for a clinician to be able to dip in and out of as necessary. And there's, in all of this work, there is this deep level of criticality. So we are always aware of quality indicators, always alert to, what's best, what needs improving, and being selective in what material we choose to make use of. And again, in order to bring that into clinical practice. So that's through the first 2 years. Hopefully you can see that this is really about research being one of the things that a clinician does. And then in the third year, for those of you who are on the MSc pathway, there is a research project module, which is the entire content of that third year. So if this is something that is of interest to you, it's important to kind of say up front that it's a year, but it starts early. We kick this process off in the summer after year 2. And the reason for that is that our first cohorts of students who've come through this process in this structure really gave us that as feedback. We wish we could have started this a bit earlier so as to have more time. So that's what we have done. So in that summer, we will initially start to look at research questions, so that kind of fascination thing gets captured, so that each person has a chance to say, here's the thing I really want to know the answer to, here's the thing I want to write about, here's the methodology I'm excited to use. And we're helping students to put that together into a proposal for a piece of research during that summertime, so that when the academic year starts, you're ready to roll. And during that year, then there is a program of classes, and these are all online classes, which are workshop based for the group. So they're very interactive. It's not like a big lecture thing where you just sit there. It's a very kind of active way of working. And some of those are generic things for all students, things that all students working at master's level, working on a research project, need, like the structure of an academic poster, how to do your referencing, all of that stuff. But beyond that, we can streamline and design these classes for what we need, depending on who is there and who has chosen what to do as their topic. So again, we've got lovely flexibility because of the small numbers, and we might be saying, okay, you two are doing something methodologically similar. We'll put you in a group together to work with this supervisor, so we're able to really cut the suit to fit the cloth. Each student also has a one-to-one relationship with an individual supervisor who is their main point of contact working on their project. And again, we're able to really work out what the best match is there in this lovely small group of people. So having created a research question and put this proposal together, the beginning of the year is taken up with this what we're calling tactical upskilling. So what do you need to be able to do this process that you haven't got already, and helping students to find that and work out what they need, what support they're going to need. And at the end of this process, the output is not a great big book that sits on the library shelf and nobody ever reads it. Uh, it's a journal article. It's a 3,000 word journal article, which means that we've got this focus on the end product right from the start, and we're streamlining output here. We're producing something that's camera ready. The idea of this being that we then get more of these things into publication because the output is ready for that. And we work on the journal articles to the specifications of specific journals so that that process is ready to happen. The other two outputs, there's an academic poster, which then can travel around conferences. And, these days, sometimes you'll travel with it, stand next to it and talk about it. And sometimes that'll be done online. So again, we're able to get your work disseminated as widely as possible by having that poster available too. And that's a one-page summary of your entire project with a QR code linking to the full text so that you can be your full text can be met by anybody who is interested in it. The third output is a notebook, which is a kind of capture of your process that sits underneath the production of this journal article and this poster. And that's to show the marker a bit of the behind the scenes, under the bonnet work that went into creating these perfect, uh, outputs that look sort of ready for the public, so that the marker then has that other view of your process. And, the whole focus of this is that the work that's produced is just ready to publish, ready for conferences, and we get that rolling into dissemination, which we really want to have. Again, being on this lovely small scale, we're able to draw really directly on the experience of our previous students. The course is biennial, so the students who come in to talk to you about this when it's your turn will be people who went through the same process 2 years previously. So that's really nice. They've got a little bit of perspective on it, but it's also fairly fresh for them. And the students who've just completed have gone through the process in this structure for the first time. So we've got their experience to build on, which is really useful. So that's research in the NCA's Chinese Herbal Medicine MSc and PGDip. If you would like to ask me anything else about that, then please feel free to do so. And there is my email address. Okay, thank you very much.